Trump is bringing this deal and trying to sign a deal. And I don't think that this is a real deal. I think this is just to buy them time to be able to replenish their stocks. But I could be wrong.
The two things you need to understand about the American negotiating position right now are these. One, we're running out of weapons. The United States has expended about half of all of its existing missile defense. This is why people opposed a regime change war against Iran, because this was always going to happen. Because the question of Iran's military might, its nuclear program, its ballistic missiles, was always secondary to what really mattered about Iran, which was its geography. It sits on the northern side of the Strait of Hormuz. It could close the strait with mines. It's not that hard. And because of where it sits on the globe, Iran was, and now is universally acknowledged as a powerful nation, as a real place. It's not Somalia. And it never will be Somalia. And this makes it official. So how did we get here? We didn't get here because anyone in the administration decided, hey, let's sign a deal that our last remaining political allies, the neocons, hate. And they have every reason to hate this, for sure. To extend them not grace necessarily, but just to be honest about what's happening. They're upset for good reason. The administration didn't do this to alienate its last remaining pocket of supporters. No, it did this because we had no choice. The two things you need to understand about the American negotiating position right now are these. One, we're running out of weapons. The United States has expended about half of all of its existing missile defense in 7 weeks. Half of its THAAD interceptors gone. So at a certain point, you can have whatever intention you want, but if you can't defend yourself against ballistic missiles or even drone attacks, and you can't defend your allies in the region from those attacks, you can't continue. We have reached the limit of our industrial capacity. The United States actually can't defend itself as of right now in a major conflict. We're assuming this is a less than major conflict. It is Iran, after all. It's not China. It's not Russia. But the United States will be unable to defend itself despite having a $1.5 billion a year Pentagon budget because it doesn't have the industrial capacity to replenish those stocks. So we are very vulnerable at this moment, and with every passing day become more vulnerable.
So that's a really great point that Tucker raises, right? So could that be? I would argue that is probably why Trump is bringing this deal and trying to sign a deal. And I don't think that this is a real deal. I think this is just to buy them time to be able to replenish their stocks. But I could be wrong. And I'm sure that Iran they were not born yesterday, right? These are like, I believe that they are like the Persians, right? So I think that they are very proud people. So, I think they're not born yesterday. So they probably know that that is a strategy as well. And they will be very wise to be very wary of any agreement signed with this current administration. And I think they know that.
Okay, that's the first thing to know. The second thing to know is that gas prices have gone up a lot, $6 for 93 octane in a lot of places, more than that for non-ethanol, for the privilege of using non-ethanol gasoline that doesn't wreck your motor. It could go a lot higher than that. Brent crude prices, as the president said the other day, have actually not skyrocketed. Well, one of the reasons they haven't is because the United States and other countries, especially China, have massive oil reserves. Ours is called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And the US government draws down on that in order to keep prices from going crazy, from spiking, because that's politically scary. And by the way, it's real as an economic factor. It can spur real inflation. Our Strategic Petroleum Reserve is at its lowest point since 1983, in 43 years, right now. So we are running out of oil and we're running out of weapons. And it's not because we were beaten in some sort of, broadside artillery exchange between aircraft carriers. We famously destroyed their Navy and their Air Force, which most people didn't know existed, but it doesn't matter. Because the kind of conflict that is actually taking place is asymmetrical. And we have reached the limit of our ability to fight it. short of using weapons of mass destruction against Iran, which no normal person wants. Many people on television want, but no normal person wants that. Not just because it's the most immoral thing you could do, but because the downstream consequences are unimaginable. So we actually don't have a choice. The Trump administration is boxed in. We lost in a meaningful way. And this is probably, while not great for the United States, in fact, devastating in some ways, less bad, less devastating than what would happen if we continued. And it's very clear that the Trump administration has understood this for a long time, within days of the beginning of the war back in February. Why? Because, as is now widely understood, the administration, the president, believed Israeli estimates about Iran's nuclear program, its strength, and critically, how it would respond to the decapitation of its leadership class. Kill the Ayatollah, kill the top 150 guys in charge of running the government and the military, and the place will collapse and something good will happen. That was the pitch. And it turned out to be wildly, comically wrong. The Iranians, who are whatever else they are, not stupid, had thought this through and had created a system that was impervious to decapitation. You kill.
And I would just add that not only did killing Iran's leadership even make them stronger, I think it actually united the Iranians, right? Because if you remember, the Iranians were actually starting to move away from their leadership, and they actually wanted a democracy. They wanted like a regular democracy like everybody else, right? And now I think the US pretty much by doing this just united the whole nation. And we see that as well with Canada. Canada apparently has never been more united than before Trump, right? When he came with the whole tariff talks and the 51st states, he united the whole of Canada, where you had even the liberals and the conservatives standing together to really talk against Trump. I think that's what happened there with Iran here, is that like he pretty much has brought them together. If he had just not done what he did, I think the Iranians would actually get into that point by themselves.